This video is concerning the normal change handling workflow. Change handling is something you do when you need to introduce new versions of your applications or new hardware into your infrastructure, but you need to do it in a structured manner. Maybe you need somebody to authorize before it's actually being introduced into your infrastructure. This workflow consists of 3.5 roles: the change manager, the change advisory board or CAB, and the release manager. And the half role is the requester who will apply or request this actual change. I will take you through the first stages down to coordinate, build and test to show you how the authorization works. So let's see how this works in real life. I am now the requester, and I will select the appropriate workflow, which is this one. And I now have to enter some pieces of information. Let's say that we want to introduce something to our finance application. I also have to select a service. Let's say it's just application management. And I will have to choose a date in which I want to deploy this. It might be during the weekend, start date, end date. And I also have to enter something regarding the consequences if not implementing. That might be a good reason. So let's submit this request. And I'm now handing over the request to the next person or next role, which were the change manager. Being the change manager, I will refresh my screen and I will be able to see that there's a new change request coming my way. As there is a blue pencil, I'm allowed to edit this request. So we will jump into the actual request. And in this stage, I just have to browse through the request to see if it's something that we want to continue to work with. So I'm just happy regarding what we already can see. So I will just jump to the next stage. This is still the change manager who will review the request for change. At this stage, let's see what the guidance says. We have to choose a risk level to continue. And let's just say this is somewhat critical, so we will choose risk level 2, but you can decide for yourself which levels you want to use in your workflow. So let's choose this risk level. And now I am in a position where I can hand over this request to the next stage, assess and evaluate. So let's do that. Being the change manager, I'm still in charge of this request. And at this point, I need to do two things. I need to make a change coordination plan, and I need to decide whether I may authorize this by myself, being the change manager, or I need to call in the change advisory board to look at this change. We will deploy during the weekend, and let's just say that in this case I wish to hand over this request to the Change Advisory Board. Having done this, I can now press Authorize, Build and Test, and I will hand over this request to the Change Advisory Board. Being the Change Advisory Board, we have now been summoned to a Change Advisory Board meeting, and we are now allowed to enter this request and see whether we might authorize it or not. We actually don't have to enrich it in any way. We can just glance through the request, and if we are all happy, we can just say we will authorize by pressing this blue button, and we will actually hand back the change request to the change manager. Being the change manager, I can see that I now have received this request once again, and I can go into the requests, and as it is already authorized, I do not have to do anything regarding the request. I don't need to enrich anything. So in this case, I could actually hand over the change request to the release manager, which I will do by pressing the blue button. This means that this actual request is now being prepared for deployment, but it is authorized to introduce it to the infrastructure. So that is how the normal change handling workflow is on the SkySpoc platform. And this was the workflow in a visual manner.